Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. So as you know, Tuesday means it's Type 2 or Standard Tuesday here in Instant Deck Tech land, and we have a super spicy discard-based deck to check out today. This is a deck built around Raider's Wake, the enchantment that deals damage when your opponent discards and makes them discard if you're able to raid. So this one's pretty sweet. Comes to us from Skyfly22, who took it to a 5-0 finish in a competitive Standard League on Magic Online. So congrats to Skyfly on a super cool deck. A quick reminder before we break down Raider's Wake for Standard. If you enjoy this deck and you want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So Raider's Wake is kind of the namesake card of this deck. 4 mana enchantment. Whenever opponent discards a card, they lose 2 life, and if you attack with a creature, it forces an opponent to discard at the beginning of our end step. So the idea of this deck is kind of twofold, but both aspects of the deck are built around Raider's Wake. We have some aggressive creatures that are good at attacking to make sure we can keep triggering Raider's Wake that way. We also have a few just straight up discard spells to make our opponent discard. So the basic idea of this deck is we are going to kind of curve out. We're sort of an aggressive black-white deck that's using Raider's Wake to finish the game. So Adanto's Vanguard, great in this deck because it can become indestructible, which means even if our opponent has big blockers, we're able to keep attacking, keep triggering Raider's Wake, keeping our opponent empty-handed, keep getting in that damage. Kai'Sail Freebooter just gets an important non-creature spell out of our opponent's hand on turn 2. Flying means it's able to keep getting in damage, triggering our Raider's Wake. Then we have a couple of 3-drops as well. Dream Stealer is super sweet in this deck. Menace lets it get in more often than you'd think, and then when it deals damage, it makes opponent discard cards equal to the amount of damage it dealt, which means 1 normally, but if we eternalize it, it can be as many as 4, which is a lot of Raider's Wake triggers. And then Ruin Raider makes sure we always have action. Our deck is pretty cheap, so we can afford to have some life loss with the Dark Confidant style card draw. So we're attacking with our Kitesail Freebooters and Adanto Vanguards to trigger raid, drawing extra cards every turn with our Ruin Raider to make sure we're getting more discard, more Raider's Wakes, more threats to close out the game. So plan 1 with Raider's Wake is get in some tricky, evasive, aggressive damage to keep triggering our Raider's Wake. We also have Legion's Landing, which just gives us a repeatable, disposable attacker. Once we flip it around, we're able to just make a 1-1 every turn. If our opponent blocks it, sure, whatever, we don't really care. We lost a 1-1, we gained a life because it has lifelink, but we are able to trigger the raid on our Raider's Wake, on our Ruin Raider, and keep drawing cards, keep making our opponent discard cards, get in that damage. Also, just making a 1-1 for 1 isn't the worst, lets us kind of curve out starting from turn 1. Then we have some actual discard. Harsh Scrutiny grabs the creature from our opponent's hand. In the worst case, if our opponent's empty-handed, it still does a little something by letting us scry 1. Heartless Pillage makes our opponent discard 2. We can get a treasure if we happen to raid, which we're pretty good at raiding in this deck, like we were talking about. And then Torment of Hailfire can kind of be our finisher. If our opponent has a ton of cards in hand, we can cast it for a lot. And having a Raider's Wake out when we cast it restricts our opponent's options. They can't just be like, alright, we'll discard all the cards in our hand, because if they discard 5 cards or something to pay for Torment of Hailfire, then they're going to lose 10 life to Raider's Wake from those triggers every time they discard, taking 2. So Torment of Hailfire kind of synergizes well with our Raider's Wake. As far as getting a lot of mana for Torment of Hailfire, the main option here is flipping around a treasure map. So Torment of Hailfire is super expensive. We're not a big mana deck. We're not really ramping. We had a lot of cheap, efficient things. But we can use treasure map to kind of scry, improve our draws. Eventually, we flip it around. Then we can use all those treasure tokens to cast an even bigger Torment of Hailfire and use it to close out the game. As far as removal, Fatal Push, pretty straightforward, kills things in the early game. We can use our treasures to trigger the Revolt mechanic and kill something bigger. Settle the Wreckage is kind of a sweeper, and then Cartouche of Ambition, a little bit weird, but it works really well with some of our evasive creatures, gaining us some life against Ramen on Bread, killing small threats, and able to pump up some of our hard-to-deal-with creatures. Adanto's Vanguard, especially, is a pretty scary threat, because if it has lifelink, then you can kind of pay to make it indestructible whenever you want to, because you're going to gain that life back anyway, thanks to Cartouche. So kind of a combo there, playing turn 1 Vanguard, turn 2 Cartouche, gives you a really hard to deal with, really aggressive start. As far as the mana base, we have a small desert package, a few Ifnir Redlands, one Chef at Dunes for pumping the dorks, Field of Ruin to deal with Flip Search for his Kantas and so forth, Concealed Courtyard is our dual land, a bunch of basic lands. In the sideboard, we have Authority of the Councils primarily for Ramanop Red, Solemnity, it's worth a shot against Energy. It hasn't proven to be the be-all and end-all against Energy decks, but it's still a fine option. Crook of Condemnation for graveyard-based decks like God Pharaoh's Gift, Lost Legacy, Dispossesses, Duress, lets us attack our opponent's hand in their deck to get rid of combo pieces, to get rid of their big finishers. Ixalan's Binding to deal with annoying gods like the Scarab God and Hazoret, and that is Raider's Wake for standard. And that's our instant deck tech for today, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.